So now we've explored a little bit of what StudyView has to offer, this nice interactive cohort exploration. One of the other great features of this is that it's an interface that allows you to define groups for comparison. There are two ways to do this. One is to apply filters, as I just demonstrated, and then use this groups menu to save a group of the samples resulting from your filter. The group actually saves to your profile, so it'll be there the next time you come back. And once you have multiple groups saved, you can select them and compare them. Another way to define groups is to use the values in one of the existing charts as the groups. So, for example, you could run a comparison based on the presence of lung metastases just by clicking this compare button. For this example, I'm going to select samples based on mutational status. So I'm going to pick samples with KRAS mutations and BRAF mutations, and I'm going to compare them. And this brings us to our comparison interface, where you can see we have a number of tabs to compare different kinds of data between these groups. We start on the Overlap tab, where we can see that there's relatively little overlap, as we might expect since these two genes are in the same pathway. Note that when there is overlap, you can choose whether to include or exclude those overlapping samples. Next, we have the Survival tab, where we can see if there's a difference in outcome. I want to emphasize that there are a lot of caveats and confounding factors, particularly with outcomes data, and so we do encourage you to consult a statistician. Think of this as a starting point requiring follow-up analysis. Here, we can see a number of different outcome measures are available, outcomes from diagnosis, as well as from the start of various treatment regimens. In this case, not really seeing much of a difference in overall survival between these two groups. Next, we can go to the Clinical tab, where we'll see a lot of those same attributes that we saw in the Study View page. For example, we can see this top one is mutation count, and we can see that the mutation count, on average, is a little bit higher in the group of samples with BRAF mutations compared to those with KRAS. And we can click on any of these other attributes to see how they compare between the groups. Continuing along, we have the Genomic Alterations tab, where we can ask, for all of our genomic data, are genomic alterations in a particular gene enriched in either of our groups? So let's take APC as an example. Given our two groups, how many samples in the BRAF group also have an alteration in APC? And how many samples in the KRAS group have an alteration in APC? And is there an enrichment for alterations in APC in either of the groups? So we can see that for APC, there is a significant enrichment in the KRAS group compared to the BRAF group. There's a lot more you can do with this comparison page, but hopefully this gives you a feel for how you can define and compare groups of samples across all of these different types of data.